Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Ass Up and Move Fitness and Nutrition Podcast. I am your host, peta-gay Barrett with Barrett Fitness. And on this podcast, we discuss fitness, nutrition, overall health, and overall well-being. I have another guest with us tonight. I'm totally excited about this one. I have Mr. Peter joining us. Hi, Peter. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us on this week's podcast, because we will be talking about how you avoided a second back surgery with just making some lifestyle changes, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, you guys, this is the topic of discussion tonight. Peter will take us through how he prevented himself from having to do a second back surgery without making some lifestyle changes. So tell us, Peter, where are you joining us from today?
Right, I'm joining you from a place called Harrow, which is northwest London, in the UK.
Oh.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking your time out of your day to join us and have this conversation. And I'm sure we'll have a wealth of information for people, someone who may be going through the same thing you have gone through, and we will jump right into it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you are a father of 4, you are a husband, you're into martial arts, so is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. Yeah, basically, I'm an electrician. I work on the local transport network in London. Yes, I've got 2 children at home, two children grown up and moved on. I have a grandchild and another one on the way. So yeah,
Wow.
just a busy family life, really.
Right. That sounds exciting. New grandbaby on the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. My wallet's not excited, but anyway.
I know, right? I know. So tell us, let's jump, right into it. I know you've had 1 back surgery, and your doctors were telling you had to do another back surgery, and you decided that you do not want to go into that direction. But let's start with just taking us through, how did you end up having to do back surgery in the first place? How did you injure yourself?
Well, it's an interesting question because I've thought about this time after time, and basically, I believe I injured myself when I was in my late teens. Now, by doing something silly, I can't remember exactly what I was doing, maybe doing some sort of pull-up somewhere, and I remember feeling a level of discomfort, and I remember my back hurting for several days, and it was very uncomfortable, and then it went away, and I thought, oh great, it's gone. But as I sort of got older and got heavier, I noticed that this back injury was always there. It was always there. It never really felt like I could walk straight or straighten back properly. It was never enough discomfort to cause me to really take action. But as I discovered, the older I got, the heavier I got, and my job changed several times. And I found as an installation electrician, kneeling down, pulling cables, sitting in floorboards and things, that really didn't help me. And I carried on. I was always kind of wanted to do some level of fitness. I liked my cycling, could never really run very far. But it came to a head in my early 40s when I was up to 111 kilos, which is 17 stone 11, not quite sure what that is in pounds, we worked out the other day. And I was very heavy, and I tripped, I stumbled.
Oh, wow.
And that doesn't sound like much, but I landed heavily on my left leg. And from that moment, I knew there was something serious that had to be addressed.
Right. Wow. So you went through over 20 years of just having this lingering discomfort in your back that you would say progressively got worse. just with work and, you know, you gaining weight, and when you fell, that just kind of did you in.
Yeah, basically, I think, yeah, it was just a constant nagging issue, which I don't know whether I needed to address it or not, but it came to a head when the pain was so unbearable, constant,
Right.
that it was like, right, I need to get this sorted out now. And that was the decision I made to then go down the road of finding out what the problem was and how it was going to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. So take us through that process, right? So you went to the doctor, and I mean, what happened from that? How did you decide, or did they just tell you off the bat, you're going to have back surgery?
Right, okay. So the process I went through, I initially went to the doctor and said, okay, I'm in severe pain, can't really walk very far, my back's killing me. And when I say my back was killing me, it was taking me nearly 2 hours to put on a pair of socks, because I couldn't bend over, couldn't bend down to get, it was just agonizing. Anyway, so the doctor initially prescribed me with some painkillers and some like an ibuprofen type thing, so to relax the muscle. And I used some cold packs to reduce the inflammation, which initially worked.
So it was cold, like hot and cold compacts, or
yeah, basically getting the cold around the area to reduce the inflammation.
That's right.
Initially that worked. However, the pain was constant, and my movement was restricted, and day-to-day activities were becoming harder.
Yeah. So how long was it before you injured yourself and surgery? How long of a time span?
Right. Okay. So the process from the doctor and to my initials. Right. So say I can't remember exactly when it was. I think it was June 2013 that the initial trip.
Right.
Then I went to the doctors and was given painkillers. Then I actually went back to work. So I thought, yeah, it's okay, I can cope with this. I went back to work for 5 months, and then hit a brick wall, whereas I could not work any longer.
Wow.
So then I went back and said, look, I really need to be referred. Now over here we have a system where the doctor will refer you to a specialist. Specialist will take a look at you. Actually, no, I went to a physio first. And the physio tried to help me release the muscle. That didn't work. I was then referred to a specialist. They took one look at me and said, okay, have an x-ray. And on the x-ray, he said, right, you don't really often see anything on an x-ray, but he said on my x-ray, he did see something. Okay. So then he sent me for an MRI scan, which took several months. It wasn't immediate. Wow. This was over quite a long time. Wow. So I had the MRI and I went back to see the specialist. He then told me that I had a slipped disc or a herniated disc, which was pushing pressure onto the nerve sac running down the left side of my body. So my left leg below the knee was numb most of the time. And I couldn't do simple things. I couldn't even lift my foot up. Like if I stood up straight, I couldn't lift my left foot up because the pain was unbearable. Now I got these results in July of 2014. I then went into surgery on the 2nd of December 2014. Yes.
Right. Wow. So during all this time, you were going through excruciating pain, pretty much not being mobile, and you had to be out of work.
Absolutely, yeah. I had to, I was out of work. So obviously my wages were virtually non-existent.
So tell us what effect did this have on your family? I mean, you have wife and children and young children, and I mean, how did this affect your family?
Well, Yeah, to be fair, I'm not exactly sure how it affected my wife and kids. I just remember trying to get through every day myself, and yeah, I mean, I was there, but I wasn't, because there were
Right.
certain things like we had tickets to go to a rugby match. And I knew that I couldn't sit for that length of time while the game was on, so I couldn't go, whereas the rest of the
So
family
they
could.
had to go
So
on do all these things
yes,
without you.
there were certain activities I couldn't um, be involved with,
Mm.
and there was one thing I do remember, and this memory came back to me last year. That my daughter, who was 4 at the time, would look at me and ask me to pick her up, and I remember
Oh,
just saying to her, I can't pick you up. And
oh,
last year it really hit me as to think, well, how did that look to her that
right.
daddy wouldn't pick her up? And it
Mm,
wasn't I wouldn't, I couldn't.
right, right.
And that's where I was in the mental state. I
Mm,
was desperate for this operation. Don't get me wrong, I had full support of my family, and we've had some really
right. Which
great
is my next
financial.
question for you. How supportive were the people around you? Not just family,
Yeah,
co-workers and extended family. Did you have that support?
yeah, we had some great support. Not so much from work and co-workers, but
Mm,
certainly my immediate family were were always there helping where they could.
yeah.
We had some financial support from older members of the family. So
Mhm.
yeah, that people pulled together. They helped us through this. They really, helped us get through that challenging time.
Right, right. Wow. I mean, this is just amazing. Just to think of a 4-year-old wanting to be picked up by daddy, and he can't do it. But I am sure as she got older, you may have had a conversation with her and she understood now, or you just, it's just a thing like we just moved on.
Yeah, well, yeah, but again, I think through having certain conversations like these, a realization to myself of how other people would have felt that situation. And I have talked to her, and she's 10 years old now.
Hmm.
And we have lots of fun together, and we're very active together.
And
And
hopefully that's probably something she don't even recall. As a
well,
4-year-old, you don't even know what they remember at that age.
no, exactly. That's right. It's probably a distant memory, and if anything, I more than made up for it.
Exactly. Good
However,
for
it
you.
it did make me think at the time that must have been
Right.
quite
In that
distressing.
moment.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So tell me, well, we're going to move on from this and go to your recovery and the good part of this story. But one last question. How did it affect your psyche? How did that affect you mentally? I know people who may have go into a state of depression or, something like that, shut off the world. How did it affect Peter mentally?
Well, I think at the time I was just coping with pain,
Yes.
and I had this like a like light at the end of the tunnel. I had this operation
Mhm.
that I was focused on.
Mhm.
So at the time, I probably that was my focus. But looking back, yeah, I think I was in quite a dark place.
Mhm.
Um, Although saying that, my wife was very supportive, and if anything, she kind of, um, how would you say it? She kind of not pushed me, but encouraged me to do things around the house. And funnily enough, I actually improved my cooking skills. I mean, to a point where I couldn't cook before, and I can cook now. So it did have
Hi.
a positive. It did have a positive effect.
That's a great thing to come out of something like that. Good for you. Good for her. So let's move on to the good part of this story. So you've had your surgery, and at some point your doctor told you that you will probably have to have a second surgery, or this is usually the case. Like, how did that second surgery story come up?
Right. So my first surgery was what they called a lesser of the two. So it was go into the back, remove the offending part of the disc, and it's called a microdiscectomy. So they
Okay.
moved the offending part of the disc, and everything should be fine. However, from experience, this is what the doctor was saying, from experience, that in 6 months' time, this might actually not work, it might fail, and you might have to have the second of the surgeries, which is called a fusion, where they fuse the vertebrae together. Now, I kind of thought, wow, going through that whole process, that whole cycle of getting into have surgery initially,
In the first place, right?
I thought, wow, there's no way I want to go through that again, and there's no way I want to put my family through that again. So I think that really helped me focus on getting strong. And you know, it wasn't going to happen overnight. I had a lot of repair to do. My body was out of shape, physically, and my bones and everything. And of course, it wasn't so much my mental state, but it was, I knew I had a mountain to climb. I had to get myself fit, and I had to keep myself strong, because the last thing I wanted was to go through that process again.
And take the people that you love through that process again. So you took your life into your own hands physically. So tell us about that. What did you do? Did you had to lose weight? You changed the way you work out? You changed the way you ate? What did you do to prevent you from having to do that surgery again?
Okay, well, initially, it was like a form of Pilates that the hospital had given me, like daily exercises to do.
Okay.
So it was like stretching exercises on a daily basis. And I found in the first 3 to 4 months, walking was pretty much all I could do. But I walked every day, and I found that it kind of warmed up the area that had been operated on. So that area felt warm, it felt like it was working, and it was something I was able to do every day, of distances up to 2 miles. So that was the first 4 months.
Okay.
And that's when I noticed a sudden change in my whole physicality.
Okay.
That my daughter, that I wasn't able to pick up, she was a year older, and I was able to pick her up.
Yay!
And that was a huge goal for me, personally. Huge goal for me. I mean, she didn't care; she just wanted to be picked up. But
right.
That was a massive milestone for me. And I thought, right, well, I'm on this journey now, and I'm getting stronger, and let's just keep moving forward.
That's right. So do you find that was kind of an inspirational moment for you to, just go into fitness and, use that to help prevent you from having to go through this process again?
Well, yes, absolutely. Because I had, as you mentioned earlier, I'm practicing martial arts. So one of my aims was to get back to some form of martial arts again. Now, I practice Taekwondo, which is a lot of kicking, well, just generally quite physical.
Right.
And I spoke to my instructor that I was looking to potentially come back. And yes, he was like, okay, I'm happy as long as I know what you can and can't do, and we'll just work it from there. And fortunately, I was able to go back to him. I also joined a local gym and just did some treadmill work, some light running. To get back to Taekwondo was great, but there was things I couldn't do. I couldn't do sit-ups, and I had to be careful when I was doing any sort of form of kick.
Right.
And so again with the fitness, it was slowly, but just constant working, and I was noticing continuous improvement.
Right. So you would say just don't jump into it, just slow, gradual movement, exercising, and you slow, gradual improvement, and you just kept building on that.
Absolutely. I mean, See, after surgery, because of how they go into, not exactly sure, but they cut through muscle to get to the offending area. Now that muscle needs to be rebuilt. You can't just do it straight away with heavy weights or anything. You will just tear it and cause yourself a bigger problem. So I knew that working slowly was the goal, and I knew that consistency was going to help me in the long run.
Right.
So that was the physical side of things. And then I had kind of changed my eating practices. So I changed my diet. I'm pretty terrible, really. I'm a big eater. I enjoy my food. So it was a learning process, and it was learning once also with what I was able to cook and cook using natural ingredients. So less processed food.
Oh my God, yes.
So and that helped me. So I felt better generally, and was able to continue with my fitness.
Right. So would you say you were overweight prior to surgery?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then did you find that after surgery and you made these lifestyle changes, not just physical but nutrition, and did you lose weight?
Initially, yes. I was losing weight slowly. There was no real kind of. I wasn't on a diet, as you say. I think diet's the wrong word for it, but I wasn't on like any sort of plan. I was just more careful with what I was eating, and I was working out. So yes, there was a degree of weight loss, not much though.
Right, got it. But you just got overall healthy, overall fit, and your recovery process preventing you from having to do that surgery again. How far are we from surgery? Like, when did you have surgery?
Right, okay, so it's actually coming up to my six-year anniversary. So it was the 2nd of December 2014. We're now November 2020. And you know, when the doctor said, I expect to see you back within 5 years. Now that anniversary was last year, and that was a big milestone for me. And you know, when I say I've been getting stronger and fitter and working out weekly, my goals are constantly changing. So when I came out of surgery and I wasn't allowed to lift a kettle because it was too heavy, right? So I wasn't allowed to fill a kettle because it was too heavy with the watering in the first 6 weeks. Now I go to a gym, I go to an outdoor gym, and I can flip it's a 260 kilo tire, which in pounds is over 500 pound tire. I can flip that. I wouldn't say comfortably, I can flip it.
Well, no human probably can do that comfortably. Coming from where you are coming from, Peter, I see some of, not just you, I'll have to give your wife some credit. And that's how we connected, is through her on social media. But I see that woman do some things and I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys are fit and healthy and in shape. And, you know, coming from where you are coming from, I'm just sure that every day you go out and work out, it's just victory in your head, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I think Lou has been, we bounce off each other. So, you know, we join the gym together. We join Taekwondo together. You know, we're always looking, not always looking for the next goal, but we are very much in tune with each other, and we do help each other, and we do encourage each other. And at the moment, Louisa was actually going for her next belt level in Taekwondo. So that's my encouragement. That's my process of supporting her and helping her work through to get to her goals.
Right. And that is just so important to have, even if it's just that one person in your life who helped to motivate and inspire you and push you to be better, even if you guys are competing against each other. Healthy competition, right? Because Lou seems like she's a little competitive, is she?
Well, let's just say, right, so that we in Taekwondo we do sparring. Okay, it's not the most fun activity. I'm not always overly enthusiastic. I'm big guy. If I hit someone,
they're probably going to be out.
Hurt them. So you have to be careful. Now, when my wife turns around and says, "Oh, shall we put on our sparring equipment and spar at home?" and I'm like, "No, no," because there's no one to stop it. When it's like time to stop, there's no one to say, "Louisa, stop!" Right? Okay, so that doesn't happen at home. So yes, she is very competitive in certain ways.
Right.
But yeah, I think we work really well together.
Awesome, amazing for you. And I see you guys have the kids involved in some of the workouts and exercise. I mean, even your daughter, some of the challenges that I do online, you know, she's jumping rope and sending me a video, and that just warms my heart. So I think, I mean, you guys are setting a great example for your children, right?
Well, I think that's very important. Because of our upbringing, I don't remember having that sort of support. I don't remember being really big as a kid, but I remember we was always running around. Now, I look at my parents now and think, right, okay, I wish you were a little bit more active. And I kind of look at that myself and go, right, well, my grandchildren are starting to arrive.
Yes.
And I want to be active.
Yeah.
And I mean active. I want to be running around with them in 20 years' time. And yeah, with Adam and Grace, we do take them out. We do encourage them, and we're on a really great nutrition plan at the moment, and the kids are both following it, and we do a lot more home cooking.
Okay.
And you know, don't get me wrong, we do have treats now and again.
Well, of course, you should.
You know, as you should, and that's great. You know, but it's not every day.
Right.
You know, so, and I think we're installing that into the kids, and they're always looking to do so. I mean, Grace does Zumba online with one of Louisa's friends. It's great. You know, Adam does rugby, and it's really good to see that we've all got something in common.
Good for you guys. This is just so amazing, and I totally appreciate you taking the time just to share your story with me, right? Because every time I have these conversations, there's always one person out there that is going through the same thing you're going through, and probably just need a little bit of advice. You know what I mean? Or just a little bit of someone who have been in the same position. What was your experience like? And hopefully we can reach one person with your story.
Well, absolutely, and you're right. I've spoken about my story on a number of occasions, and if it can help somebody else, you know, great. I'm really all for that. Even if it just touches one person. But what I've also found is it helps me. It helps me process my experience.
Right, just by talking about it, and make you probably think of something you hadn't thought about before, right?
Absolutely. And you can draw on those experiences, you can draw on that emotion, and by talking about it, it can help someone else who's in a bad place, in a dark place, and thinking, wow, where do I go from here? Where do I go from here?
If he did it, I can do it too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So one last question for you as we wrap up here, Peter. What would you tell that person who is going through what you have been through, right? Maybe they're in the recovery process of surgery, or maybe they just injured them. What would you tell someone? What word of encouragement would you have for that person who may be going through something, what you just went through?
Well, I think what's most important for me has been, one, to start doing something, whatever it is, to start doing something, and then to keep doing it, to be consistent, because with that consistency you'll see strength, growth, and then your goals change. So what you might think is, oh, okay, I want to achieve picking my daughter up.
Yes. And
you can go from that to flipping a huge
I know.
So it's not, I didn't set out to flip the huge time. All I set out was to be able to pick my daughter up, and it just grew from there. So if anything you can do is just start with something and be consistent.
And that is just such great advice. And that goes for anything in health and fitness. It doesn't have to be a back surgery or injury or, whatever the case may be. Just start somewhere. Start easy. Slowly build into it gradually. And then once you start to see those improvements, as simple as picking your child up, now we're going to be picking up grandbabies and running behind them. You're out there flipping tires and you have prevented yourself from having to do a second surgery, right?
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. It is a thought in the back of my mind that, it could still potentially happen. However, I've done everything I can to prevent that.
That's
and
right.
I will continue.
Awesome. And that's what I always say. Give yourself a fighting chance. Whether it's boosting your immune system to prevent a cold or exercising to prevent a second back, so just give yourself a fighting chance. Peter, thank you so very much for this conversation. And again, hopefully we can reach one person, that would be amazing. So tell us, I know I connected with your wife, Lou, over Instagram. Where could someone find you? Would that be something you would be open to if, someone wants to send you a quick message and say, dude, I heard that story. Can you give me a little bit of advice?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Facebook under Peter Clatworthy, or I'm under Instagram as PeterCat44. So please reach out if it's something you want to ask a question or just reach out for any encouragement, by all means.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And we are recording this for YouTube as well. So we will be posting it there. If you have a question, just leave a comment. Again, I will put Peter's information in the comments field and reach out with a question. If you have a question for me, something about me, reach out with a question, you guys. I do these things to inspire other people. And hopefully we've reached one person today. Thank you so very much, Peter. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for taking this time for me.
Awesome. And maybe Lou will have me interview her because she's an amazing woman.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll have to sort that out. Yeah, no problem.
I know, right? Okay. Well, thank you guys so very much for joining us. Again, this podcast comes out every Wednesday by 8 p.m. And I am found anywhere where you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. I'm available on YouTube, Facebook, all of them. I'm everywhere. So you guys can reach Peter. I'll share his information, with you on social media for just reaching out for a word of encouragement. And again, thank you, Peter, for joining us. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. We appreciate your time. Until next time, Peter and we are out.